Right, happy Friday. Shabbat Shalom. Welcome everyone. Mil-Spec Ops Monkey here. It is 10 a.m. on 4/16/21 and we are wheels up. And so let's see what we got going on here today. I just wanted to pop in and take a look at a couple things. We're going to do a little recap because this is going to be actually posted on YouTube. So you folks in the chat from Patreon, if you'll remember after the show, after I stop recording, if you would just, if you got questions, just hang on and I'll still be in here. We'll still be streaming. I just won't be recording it. So without further ado, let me zing on over to our map this morning. So we are sitting right now at about 282 up, which is about, I don't know, 30, 40 higher than the usual number. So not too bad, but it is still pretty early. It's only 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. So that is still, I'm sure this thing will get more populated as the day goes on. Now we do have quite a bit of weather kind of washing through across the central U.S. and then down here in the southeast. But that said, we'll kind of start digging into this a little bit and doing a little breakout. Now I do see we got a little B-52 up, and then of course you guys see this train right here. There's probably about 20 plus trainers. Those are going to be little T-38 aircraft. Those are what they call Tweety birds, and they look to all be heading out of San Antonio. Looks like we got a little class trip going on here. So, but these are little two-seaters. You get a little pilot and an instructor, usually right and left seat on the old Tweety birds. But yeah, for those not familiar, that's kind of, if you can see it up here in the little corner, it's a little single engine prop job. And anyway, that looks like, I say San Antonio, but these look like they're coming out of Corpus Christi. So anyway, headed northeast, probably for a little long weekend, maybe graduation ceremony, maybe heading up to the Air Force Academy. There's no telling. So, but when you see that train running, it's just a bunch of trainers. So it's nothing really spectacular. And just people learning how to fly. So, all right, let's bug over here real fast. I'm going to look at the H-60 activity up for this morning, see if we've got anything that looks to be higher than usual numbers. East Coast is kind of popping. Left side is not really probably awake yet or just getting started. So this little section here are going to be mainly trainers, but this down in here is not, nor is this up here. Okay. So we'll clear that out, do a little reset. And okay, so let me see here. I did want to point out, we were looking through this just to see what was going on in terms of aircraft. And let me just get down here. We had some P3s and P8s that were up again this morning. We do have quite a few H-60s up, but remember now we're not seeing everything that's up either. So it looks like we got 4 P8s and 2 P3s that are currently up this morning. So most of this is going to be out of, keep in mind too, I've got persistence on right now because I was holding, so it may be sitting at about 20 high, just so you know. But looks like this one was doing some touch and goes up here and is now headed back down toward Jacksonville Naval Air Station. Now we did have some P3s that were out along here a little while ago, and not really too much going on from that standpoint. We had one P8 that was cruising across, looked like it was headed out of Jacksonville back over here to Seattle. That has since, oh, there it is right there. So it is now, looks like it is on final approach for those that you can see. So, all right, a couple two ships. That's going to be air refuelers here. And we've got some air refuelers in here that are two ships. Got a little Century AWACS that's up on this side. Not seeing any kind of major electronic suite happening at the moment. We do have one R-35 that's right here on ground. It looks like he's about to take off. So for those not familiar with that, this kind of gives you a really nice side view, but all it is a really high-end, super duper tricked out 737 really. And it has got this little doghouse on the side, both sides. That is a side array looking radar, and then it has a ton of antennas on the bottom here, and these are all different types of different antennas, and then across the whole back of the thing too. It's kind of got like a spine on it with all these antennas. It's pretty crazy. And then you've got these little dog houses here that control or have other types of electronic suite stuff in there. Okay, but pretty impressive aircraft, pretty cool to see, and it has a lot of capability. So all right, so that said, but yeah, definitely a high-tech surveillance bird, and they seem to operate out of this kind of general area on a regular basis, but they go west and east. So all right, let's get over. I want to look at we're going to look at TFRs, and then we're going to bounce into some of the weather, and then we're going to get into some details around Guantanamo Bay and some of the new activity that we see going on, because I think we have a trend going here, and history could be repeating itself. So we're going to kind of dig in on that. So these right here, the purpose of this map is just to show you some of the ash alerts that are going on. These are volcanoes that are spewing currently ash, okay? And so as I've mentioned before, this ash can kind of get into, if it gets into your engines, it can really cause and wreak havoc. So you see these aircraft that are actually flying across into that area. This box right here is actually more of a higher alert. Now it depends on the altitude of that ash. This guy may be either below it or above it. But still not very wise going into that area if it's thick ash, because it'll tear up your engine, okay? Think of it like being sandblasted. But all these little boxes are the direction of ash. So it looks like we got a lot of different wind directions going on right now, coming out of it. Now that's St. Vincent Island, and it just a couple of days ago, this ash alert was all the way across going into Africa, okay? And so the fact that it's contained a little more is kind of a good sign, because if it continued on, that could be really bad for Africa and their food situation. Okay, a little more ash down here, and let me get up here. Guatemala, you can see this one's also got a little bit of ash coming out, and then this also has a little bit of ash coming out right here. And so, okay. That is going to be our ash alerts. Now let's get over to the weather map real fast. I just want to kind of bounce in. We're going to look at the active TFRs. You can see we've got a active storm out here. It looks like it got up to a Cat 4, but its sense has dropped down one, so it's weakened just a little bit. These little red tiny dots you guys see, those are earthquakes. Dutch sense is your earthquake guy, so I'm not going to spend any time on that stuff. But volcanoes I'll definitely look at, because it does impact aviation travel, or can have an impact. Okay, you can see we got some weather rolling through the southeast right here. Some thunderstorms actually just cleared out of my area, and hopefully it gets cleared today, this afternoon. It'd be nice, but it looks like the panhandle is getting ready to get whopped. And right here, this is going to be for TFRs, this little elongated box right here, that is going to be a security TFR for that's actually military operations going on here. And then this also, the little red one down here, kind of hard to see, kind of get into a little closer, but that's going to be a search and rescue ongoing activity. Looks like they've lost somebody off the coast there, and so that box is a SAR box, is what they would call. Okay, so over here it looks like we're kind of getting that weather pattern where I don't know if they're going to get any air shows going. At least, I don't know, they may have tried to do the air shows before, but these are all air show activity. I don't know if Savannah is. I'll double check that one real fast, but these were air show related, and they probably got postponed because it was a washout last weekend. And let me just double check this one real fast if it'll let me. Come on, baby. There we go. Yeah, air show. All right, so it's still there. Up here in this area, this is going to be Brown Zone, Senior Living Center, and we actually have Flashbang bugging out today, and he's going to be headed home for the weekend. And so this is a rather massive TFR, a lot bigger than usual. So, all right. Those are going to be your mains. Now, these others that we see out here, this is fire related. And some of these in the middle of the states are also kind of fire related. All right. And Los Angeles, I think that is actually, that's just ongoing. That's going to be Disney. And so West Coast Disney, and that's a fire hazard also right there. So in terms of fires, we do have some fires going on that are kind of getting a little big out there, and so these are just one of those things. So this one in Montana is unusual. It's a space operations TFR. You don't see that very often. I don't know what they're doing out there, testing rockets maybe or something. But okay, that's going to be our TFRs for today. As we kind of get into let's get into Flashbang Schedule real fast. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, so this is Flashbang's schedule for today. You guys see kicking off the morning, starting early again, 9:50 a.m. And then he's got an in-town pool call. Looks like he's meeting with the Prime Minister of Japan in person today, which is kind of an interesting. Normally he doesn't do any of that. Of course, it's closed press. And then at the end of the day, looks like he departs around 5:30, headed home for a weekend. So that is that. Now I don't know what is going on with Bob Marley. She may be going home. She may not be going home. I haven't seen any. There weren't any TFRs indicating she was departing. So she seems to be hanging close. So okay, let's get over here to Guantanamo Bay, aka the spa. Talk a little bit about what we've got going on. Now, today, it's kind of a little bit of a slow day. We don't have anything on the boards other than the usual traffic stuff. So this is going to be Amerijet International 767-300. That is actually a cargo jet. It comes in every Friday. Used to be Norfolk, Virginia, but now they're doing everything out of Charleston. So they've kind of changed their operations a little bit in terms of logistics and supply, okay? This right here, little Learjet from Lauderdale, that's going to be your contractors. So those are guys that are basically, commuting back and forth from stateside over to the spa to do contractor work. Okay. All right. So that is the Guantanamo Bay look. Now, here's one thing I do want to point out. This is the docket for Guantanamo Bay from an unclassed perspective. And when I say that, I'm talking about classified, okay? This one is non-classified. These are going to be your guys from 9/11, I think, that are going on. But notice they're all canceled. If you go back to the previous month, it's the same thing, canceled the entire month. So I don't know what's going on. They have not had any type of a 9/11 type trial in months. I mean, at least 6 months. If you go back, there's just nothing. Everything's been canceled. So there's something going on. If I had to guess, just because of the activity, I would think there are probably some classified things going on. And this is because this is going to be unclassed. You're not going to see anything classified here. So there's probably some classified stuff going on, but that would explain why we still have all of the heavy travel and flow going in and out of there. All right. Who it is, I don't know. I've read on several occasions they're talking about there's some Hillary Clinton's being tried right now or something, and I don't believe that. Okay, yeah, that's exactly what before it's news is posting it. I don't believe it. They are pretty well known for posting bogus stuff, so just gonna put that out there. I'm not a big fan. And just the stuff that I've uncovered from there and from other sites on this information, I will tell you, I pulled the thread on one of them. There's somebody posting that is almost like as if they're sitting in the courtroom, and they're giving details, not a lot of details, just a couple little data points about some argument that was taking place in the courtroom. But if I pull the thread on that and I go back to who had created that story and who's been posting it on a daily basis, that was the original. If you remember, I was telling you about there was a claim that she was arrested and that she was flown via Sea Stallion, H-53 Sea Stallion from Lauderdale to there. And I just showed you basically, because they said, it was a 1-hour flight and it was a SEAL Team 6 dedicated to Trump, and it was just complete hogwash, okay? And but if you pulled all the data points and you started looking at the details of the story, you could very quickly tell it was a bogus story, right? So just the airspeed alone for a Sea Stallion to get to Guantanamo Bay is like 2 hours and 45-minute flight from Lauderdale. And, you know, and it's right at the edge of its fuel capacity without having to take on fuel. It can get there, but if you're at max speed, you're going to be burning fuel a lot faster than if you're at cruise, okay? And so, so it was just little things like that. I'm just telling you, it's when you back up into it and you see where it's coming from and the baseline of the story, and as it goes forward, it's just, you can debunk it pretty quickly. So that's all I'm telling you. It's I think it's all a bunch of hogwash. Who's being tried down there? I don't know. If I had to guess, it's probably human trafficking related, things like that. Okay, but just saying. And also military commission. Is it civilians? Is it are these people that are enemies of the state or what? My understanding is you can't try civilians, but if they've been sworn in as a to do duty for the United States, like taking an oath to do duty, like a congressman or a senator, things like that, military personnel, you know, they're all sworn in. And so I think that actually puts them into a different class or category, again, in terms of how they can be tried, okay? And if it's treason, I think that's all bets are off. So, all right, so that is this. But as you see, this board is blank. There's really nothing showing, but based on the activity that we're seeing there, would indicate there's something going on. We're just not seeing it on the boards, okay? All right, that's kind of a high overview. Now, here's one of the things I want to point out. If we look at some of the flights that have been coming out of Guantanamo Bay, they've been going to Opelika, all right? And Opelika is got a little history behind it. If you guys go kind of look at the history behind this airport, just specifically, not just the city. The city was founded in like 1926, and it's had a little history with the Cold War and things like that. But there used to be a building here back in the day during, I think during the Cuban Missile Crisis. The CIA actually operated out of this location, and my understanding was over here in the northeast corner was a operation that they ran called Building 67. Now, it's no longer there. My understanding, it was somewhere in here, northeast corner. The only thing I can see over here now is this old building. And if you notice, it's really not considered, like you can see the old fence line right here. So you could actually access this without having to get onto airport. So there's no telling what that is. For those that live down there in Opelika could probably tell us what that really is. But supposedly there was a Building 67 somewhere over here in northeast corner that was a CIA operation. And so now today we see these flights, and we're going to kind of go into those, and I'll show you. These flights are coming off of the spa and they're going here, all right? And so this is a little executive airport, which is not the big international. And so, you know, you could easily have in any one of these little neighborhoods, you know, something that was just very remote and off radar, you know, black site that you'd never know was even there or what. So just kind of food for thought. You got storage facilities over here, just children and family department. That's kind of an interesting right there too. All right. So just kind of food for thought. If you want to check it out and go kind of do a little research or digging, it's kind of a neat thing. If you live in this general area and you got a little scoop on what that little corner building is there, or maybe, you know, eyes on some of the stuff that's going on, it would be really interesting to watch and keep an eye on it. And, you know, but don't do anything stupid. That's all. That's all we need. Okay. But nonetheless, all right, so here's one of the things too I want to point out. Now, we did this yesterday with you guys on Patreon, and for the space monkeys and all the other monkeys that, you know, on Patreon, we kind of go into this, and I'll spend some time kind of after the show talking through questions and things like that. And so, but yesterday we were talking, I wanted to just kind of recap and show you guys, we talk a lot about this Terceira Island that's out here in the middle of nowhere, okay? And as you can see, you're kind of backing it up a little bit. But for those that are not familiar with it, this is Portugal, this is Spain, and this is actually belongs to Portugal, this island does, all right? but it's out pretty much in the middle of nowhere. Okay, it's a key, be a nice little place for a prison, and I'm going to show you what is out here and why we are watching this. Okay, now this is on the end here is a military U.S. Air Force base, but it's a shared asset. Okay, and so commercial airlines actually land in here also, so there is a little terminal and everything else here at this airport. But if you get over here, middle of the island on the south side, and you kind of dig in, there is a prison in here that is it's a high security prison, and you can see it's got some massive walls around it. But this is the prison that we're talking about, and so this is just, again, it's speculation, but pretty confident that this is being utilized by not just us but other countries in terms of people that are doing bad stuff, and and that's one of our prison locations. That's my opinion. Okay, just seems to be very convenient and, like I said, very remote. And if you look at all the business models that our government has put together in terms of studies, and let my screen marinate here for a second, but in terms of studies for alternate locations to Guantanamo Bay, they're all very similar to that. Okay, for example, XPL Honduras, very remote, nothing out there. Guantanamo Bay, very remote, nothing out there. Kwajalein was another one out in the middle of the South Pacific. Now that island is kind of like Terceira in that it is, it's basically 1.5 miles long. It's really just an airstrip in the middle. There's about 2,500 people that actually live there. They're all civilian. It's an Army military installation run island. I used to live out there. That's how I know a lot about it. So I spent a year out there. And if any of you guys have ever lived out there, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. There's nothing there. They don't have cars. Everybody rides bicycles. There's 1 or 2 cars on the island, but everything you do is on bicycles. And so in monsoon season, it's either wet or it's dry. In monsoon season, you better have some rain gear, because you're going to get drenched if you get caught in one of those that roll through. So, but those are all very similar locations. Same thing with Camp Justice, middle of nowhere. Why they have these places so remote and little small islands, almost like a Alcatraz model, is very interesting. So there's no getting off of them and no escaping, because if you do get off the islands, you're swimming and you're in probably shark-infested waters, and you're not going to be able to swim. It's 2,000 miles in Quaj to the closest land, so it's a long way to go. So anyway, all right, so there's that. Now here's another little P3. Looks like that is rolling out of head southbound. I don't know where it's headed, but yeah. All right. Now, my understanding too, the Navy was doing some tow booms or some kind of testing. There was an article that was written up about it, and so that could have been some of the activity that we've seen in the last week or so. Those tow boom testings aren't typically lasting for a long period of time, and so we've been tracking a lot of those flights and activity off of the coastlines, especially up in here. And we also just happened to have a Russian sub that was missing, several actually. And so just data points. Are they doing some testing? Yes, definitely. I'm sure they are. But was everything we were watching related to that testing? I don't think so. Okay, so let's get back over here. We looked at Terceira, and we're going to go look at this location. Now, here's another one I want to point out, because we have some same type of activity going on in the same locations. Okay, so this is XPL Honduras. This is our alternate prison location. Now, what I want to say, okay, so these Reach, we expected those. Okay, this one we looked at, that's a little helo that comes in and out of that location pretty frequently. This Shark 70, those from MacDill Air Force Base, that's going to be troop replen. And then this little bird, that's also a little Bell helicopter, B407. So same thing with these. So these, we see them out there pretty regularly. I don't know what they do out there, but this one is an out of sequence bird. That's really what we're looking for when we're watching these locations, are these aircraft that are out of sequence. And they all, if you notice, they all kind of fit the same mold, all right? And so let's take a look at this, but notice where it came out of, Port-au-Prince. Now, if you remember, there was an article that just came out in the last couple of days about somebody, I want to say being arrested, or some activity that was going on in Port-au-Prince, and somebody actually stepped down. I think it was the president or somebody was stepping down because of it. So, but all of a sudden you see this little random flight pop in from Port-au-Prince into XPL. Now, they could very easily gone over here to Guantanamo Bay, but they didn't. And so it went to XPL. And so just so you guys can see, you kind of get eyes on, but this is another kind of fits that same mold, right? These little airplanes are key for island hopping. They are, they're fast, they can get high altitude, and they can hold a fair amount of people. I mean, you look at the windows, there's probably a seat in every one of these, or at least every other one. And, you know, if you need a small little team of people to get on this, I'm going to kind of zoom in a little bit closer. I'm trying to get, that looks like the Mexican flag right there. If I'm not mistaken, that's Mexico. So that XABD, that's pretty interesting. So I don't know who it belongs to. I couldn't find any registration on it, but these little things, man, they will hop in and out. You don't need a long runway. They're like a little fighter jet, and they're really good to use for those kind of things. Now, when you start getting into like dirt runways and other shorter stuff and shorter distances, that's when you jump into the turboprops and the things, because you can land on a dime and they take off. They don't take a lot, and they're a little more rugged. You don't have to worry about ingesting stuff into the engine. Okay, so okay, but for like little, you know, QRFs, quick reaction forces, things like that, these little dudes are pretty nice. They're spiffy. They get you there very quickly. And so, like when we were talking about the other day, how the Fifth Fleet is in Bahrain, right? And so to get over to the Suez area, if we did have a SEAL team, now I know there's SEAL teams deployed to the Bahrain one, no doubt in my mind. But if you were going to take SEAL teams and put them over into the Suez to assist the Egyptian government or the Israelis doing any type of work over on that side, you would probably put them on one of these type of jets. And depending on the color team, right? I don't know how big they are, but I would guess you're not going to go in with probably assault teams. You're going to do probably recon guys, right? And so, but to bug them over, that's 1,500 miles. So from Bahrain to the Suez Canal is 1,500 miles roughly. And so, you know, you would use something like that because that'll get you in 1,500 miles in a couple hours. But that's a long distance. That's pretty far away too, you know. So not out of the question, but that is 1,500 miles is a long way to fly. I mean, that's probably like halfway across the United States, right? So if you had to put it in there, but again, you kind of notice the same deal, right? Same type of aircraft. Now this is our Maxwell bird and N312FU. Now this one has been doing, and we'll kind of go into this right now. It's down in Colombia. Okay. Remember, these are all agency birds, by the way. So I'm just kind of pointing that stuff out. But let's kind of just look at the locations this thing has been. So it's down in Colombia. It was in Lauderdale, Boca Raton yesterday. But today it's down in South America. It was in New Orleans, Dominican Republic. Again, you know, this thing's been up all the way up to the East Coast. But here it is right here. Where was it? Tuesday the 13th. Opelika. Okay. So you can see we are definitely running people. That came out of Jamaica over to there. All right. So remember, the agency that ran out of that location early on, this was back in the day, but this was a site for them. Okay. And they ran a pretty big operation, Building 67. Go look it up. And also enough to where they named a road after it. So what's that road say right there? Langley Road. So I'm not sure that coincidence, probably not. All right. So But this is now it's an Amazon location, and then this looks like little logistics warehouse, and so there's a couple things. It's a pretty busy little airport for an executive airport. Looks like a nice little operation, but like everything else down in that general area, always suspect. Okay. All right, so we're looking at 312. You can see that one's currently en route, headed northbound out of Columbia. And we get over here to the Phoenix Airs. Now, I did have one on board here just a little while ago that just recently dropped off. So here, matter of fact, it's still showing. And so it was come out of Guam, and it's headed to New Zealand. All right, looks like that's our little cyclone over here, or hurricane, depending on where you're located. So heading out here to New Zealand out of Guam. So now here's the thing. I got somebody sent me some information. And this is the beauty of kind of some of the things we do on Patreon, is the fact that we all kind of work together, and there's stories, and we vet things, and every once in a while trolls get in there. But for the most part, it's a pretty clean, lean operation. Like, people really enjoy doing like the research on this stuff. So my understanding, that somebody sent me something that Flashbang had sent a delegation over here to China to talk about the environment or something. And then that is the aircraft, I think, that we've been seeing that came out of China, went back over here to Anderson Air Force Base, which is here in Guam. And now it looks like they're headed down south. So he's got somebody out here doing something. But this is one of the Phoenix birds. Again, we know that it's a DoD service provider, right? U.S. government, DoD. We know the agencies use them frequently, so that's why we're watching these guys. Okay, all right. So N163PA, this landed 2 days ago. This one again, actually, that may be the bird we're watching right now. It's just flying under a different call sign. But this thing, it took off out of Indonesia and went over here. Unless we've got two birds in there. This one doesn't really give me, let me see if it's got any indication on which one it is. It's not showing anything. So just says gray birds. But more than likely that's going to be the same aircraft. It's just flying under, it's now got a different call sign. And so they'll do that sometimes to kind of throw us off so we can't track them. But so that's probably, if I had to guess, that's the one that came out of Indo, is landed here, and now it's headed south. All right, so that's probably going to be our bird, even though it's showing 2 days ago. But we've got it located here in Guam, so that would be pretty good indicator. All right, now N549PA, this one is it returned to base 2 days ago out of Miami. The reason I'm pointing this out is because this is the one that was at the spa and went over to Opelika. Right here, you see it. And so it departed from there back up here. So more than likely it went from here to here empty. So whoever was on it from here to here is not. They stopped here. Okay. So, but again, a trend, right? We're starting to see this, and I think we're going to see a lot more. It looks like they're setting up shop right here in this location. And so, all right. Okay. N173PA landed 2 days ago, came out of our other location. Now remember, this is Terceira. That's this spot here. Okay, so they took off out of here, landed here, took off out of here. Okay, and so that is it's currently in Greece, landed 2 days ago, and so that looks to be where it operates out of pretty frequently. And so we'll see this plane, and there was another one, 183PA, that went off radar. They won't let us track them anymore. They've actually requested it. That you'll see down here all the way from Southern Africa, Central. I mean, they are all over this place, all over it. So that's probably why they went dark. They don't want us seeing it. So okay, over to the Coletta Airlines, and so this is owned by Connie Coletta, so you guys know. Sorry, throat's getting a little dry from these antihistamines. So looks like we've got two birds up right now. This is 331CK, and we'll get down here to the destinations. But got one, looks like it's coming out of Shreveport, and it's headed down to, man, where is that? It's Mexico, I guess. So I started to say Chihuahua, but not even going to try it. I'm lucky I got Opalaka corrected and Coletta, all right? And so I can't tell you how many times I say those words. They just come out wrong every time. So, but anyway, looks like that one's headed down to Mexico, which is pretty interesting, out of Shreveport. Don't know why that's doing that, but somebody made a really interesting point the other day, and talking about, and this is again on the Patreon side, it was in a message, and it was a spot on. It really got me thinking. When you have all of this immigration push, and they're sending these kids and these women into these I don't know, you want to call them camps or whatever you want to call them, but they send them into these locations and into these cities. They're like, that is basically legalized human trafficking, is what that is. And it just kind of hit me like, you're right. It really is. It's now, instead of trying to hide it through cargo ships and all the other stuff, they're still doing that too. But now it's just hidden in plain sight. I mean, it's basically meeting the same kind of requirements. So I don't know, get your head wrapped around that one, but that's our government. So, all right. So anyway, looks like the other one is coming out of Miami, headed over to the Dominican Republic, which is now, for a while there, that was this aircraft, and now it looks like they've changed equipment. And so we've got another one over here, and I'll have to actually look at it, but this is kind of a regular back and forth between there, okay, every day. All right. So, okay. And then this was our 331. As you guys can see, it's en route, headed down to Mexico. So, Sausalito. All right. And Atlas Air. All right. So here's the other one we want to watch closely. And the reason we're doing that is because we did have some Atlas Air flights going into Afghanistan earlier in the week and last week. And so we're kind of watching for this. Looks like today there's nothing going on from a Europe and Middle East perspective. But, doesn't mean we won't see it again. Looks like everything's still headed currently over here to Asia and back. And then a lot of U.S. routes. So let me drop down here and just take a quick look to see if our destinations are El Paso or anywhere else that we ought to be watching closely. I'm not seeing it. Most of these are their regular locations. So Los Angeles, Frankfurt, New York, those are regular hubs for them. So, but I will point out, notice there's, you've got March Air Reserve Base, you've got Ramstein in here, Elmendorf. Notice they're all military bases, all right? So that's telling you they're moving, they're definitely either moving people or supply runs to DoD. So like I said, Atlas Air is a huge DoD provider, service provider. And so that's why we watch them. So if you start seeing them pop into the Middle East or over in Afghanistan, eyes on it, because there's something is afoot. So, okay, this is going to be our Department of No Justice, and so this is that little Go Team bird. Did you guys remember this? That high wing -8 and N721AL, but it looks like they're departing out of Salt Lake City and headed. If I had to guess, they're headed back to the Brown Zone. Okay. And look like they spent a couple of days out there. So they've been out in Salt Lake all week for the most part. All right. And over to our sniffer. So this is our latest sniffer activity. No, this is not Flashbang's Marine 1. This is just the sniffer. And although you could probably dub them both the same, this thing has got a ton of equipment and electronics on it, and has the ability to basically do quality air samples. So I know I say that every time I show it, but I just want to make sure we do get a lot of people that are new to the channel that don't understand it, and I just try to back up a little bit and reiterate some data points in case they haven't heard it or somebody missed it. Okay, But so this is going to be the Sniffer. It's operated by the Department of Energy, and what it does is it's looking for nukes, realistically, or biological or chemical or anything in the air that's not supposed to be there. Okay, and so this is the Brown Zone. This is right next to the Senior Living Center, and looks like it just tooled out here and did a little run on the coast. Again, this is one of the things they're watching very closely. These little inlets where they start to come in, these waterways, and like right in here, and then you know, through here. I mean, as you notice, that right there gets you pretty close to downtown DC. And so if you are able to get a little boat in here with a dirty bomb on it, or a barge or anything, or conceal it, or even a Club K, and you're here, it's going to take longer to basically flip the switch on and, you know, launch the rockets than it will from the time it goes from, you know, launch point to target. I mean, it takes about 5 minutes to launch 4 Club Ks from the time that you activate it to the time that it pops up to the time they launch and clear 4 tubes. But the reaction from the time it launches from the tube to the point of you know, impact is minutes. Like maybe from here to there would be like less than a minute. I mean, it would be so fast. They're supersonic, so they would, you know, ain't no stopping that one, to say the least. But anyway, as I digress, so that was on the 14th, so that was 2 days ago, and it looked like it went down there. But now, if you notice the altitude, notice that it gets down pretty low, and then back up, and then it does different levels of sampling at different altitudes. Okay, but this entire time, as it's zinging through, it's sniffing. Okay. All right, so yeah, green line's altitude, yellow is airspeed. All right. Okay, so back over to our crime scene. Let's get this. Let me look at the DEFCON level real fast. Haven't seen anything yet. Somebody said it was DEFCON 3, but I don't know that that's accurate. So I'll bump in and pull something up here real fast just to see if we've got any. Let me see here. Go to my site, just out of curiosity. Oh, so yeah. All right. Let me pull this over. You guys can see. So we are at DEFCON level 3, which is that's interesting. That is. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I saw that in the chat a minute ago. So here we are. So what does that mean? So let's go look at the DEFCON levels, and we can just kind of go into, let me see here if it gives us, of course it's going to give me an ad, never fails. So DEFCON level 3, so current level. So let's look at the levels just so we all understand what that really means. Okay. All right. So they range 1 to 5. 5 is the least, and 1 is the most severe. Okay, so if you have a 1, you're basically going to have a current nuclear attack or a war. Level 5 is the least, which is basically the most peaceful. So that's just kind of a standard. So you get into 3, and let's see if it gives me anything. So DEFCON 3 is a roundhouse warning level. So that is a condition. A yellow alert, increased alertness of military readiness. DEFCON 3, the Air Force is at a higher state and level of readiness, and they deploy mobilize within 15 minutes. And so when you get into DEFCON 3 yellow, similar to that of a caution sign, I guess. So it just basically is increased military readiness, and it doesn't look like it's like specific to one location. That appears to be elevated. I haven't seen us at DEFCON 3 level in years. That's pretty interesting. So the alert status may be raised after a precision strike is carried out by an enemy, or after it is carried out by the United States military that warrants a cautious state of military readiness alert. So there you have it. So yeah, DEFCON 3. We go to 2 and it's showtime. We get to 1 and we're all basically going to be meeting our maker. So don't really see that happening very often. I think we've gone to 2. We maybe have a snap count up to 1 in the past, you know, during something crazy, but interesting. It can't be too significant. I mean, what it really shows you, if you look at a schedule, so if we're really at DEFCON 3, everybody is kind of at a raised alert level, and you go back over here to Flashbang Schedule, that shows you he's not in control. So if they've still got him meeting with you know, the Prime Minister at 2:30 in the afternoon instead of clearing his calendar, then that means somebody else is actually calling shots, probably his wife. So oh boy. All right. So yeah, so I guess we are at DEFCON 3, which is 9/11 may have even gone to 2. Honestly, maybe even a 1, because we were actually physically under attack. So I'm not really sure, but we'd have to probably dig into that. But it has been a while. I don't think I've seen it on 3 and the amount of time I've been watching it. So let's look at H60s again. I just want to show you something. It looks to be, we look at EC45s here on this, as you guys can see. Let me make sure you guys are seeing that. Now you're not seeing it. Okay. All of these right here, from this point, right behind my head, all the way up to here, are all, excuse me, EC45s, which are helos. Okay. Now, a majority of them are going to be right here. That is a little hotbed. They look like little ants. Those are going to be probably half of that stack. Okay. But as we go over here, let me go back over to H60s real fast. And we're going to hit filter, and then we're going to back it up and take a look at the map now. And you can see I would ignore this area right here, because that's going to be, again, you got a lot of trainers in this area. Okay. But if you look at here, we've got quite a bit of activity on the coastline down here in Tampa. This one here looks to be running out to the water. So no telling what that is. It doesn't say if it's Air Force or not, it just shows NA, but pretty interesting. So that's quite a few. That's let me see what it should give me a count. 33, but of course I deduct probably at least 10 out of this area here. So but this is, so you're probably sitting at about 25 if I had to guess, roughly. All right, but these right in here are typically, this is all trainer stuff. And so, all right. Okay, so there is that. Let me clear that, and then we're gonna just take a closer look at the US stuff as we kind of watch some of this. So these B-52s are up. So yeah, so what happens on DEFCON 3? Now when I was in the Air Force, I'll tell you at DEFCON 3, all your alert pads, like for example, at Barksdale Air Force Base in Shreveport, that alert pad, that basically everybody's on short notice, right? So the guys that are, you know, they can't exceed anything that's probably 10 minutes out, I would imagine, because they've got to have time if the klaxon goes off to respond to get back. So, and so they're probably hanging pretty close to the alert pad during DEFCON 3, because you actually have to be able to respond in 15 minutes. So, yeah, anyway, so that's kind of an interesting thing. So again, these are these are trainers. That's an Osprey that looks to be doing some touch and goes out here in Albuquerque, or doing a little flying, light flying out here in this area. So let's see here, we get into actually Albuquerque side. So that's probably Air Force V-22, U.S. Air Force V-22. Could be dudes from Superman School. Not sure. They typically are using helos. Out here on the West Coast, that's going to be one of your big. That's H-53. For you guys not familiar, so this is a Super Stallion, is what they call it. Now, for the Air Force, that was what they call a Jolly Green Giant. And those... be it HH-53 Jolly Green Giant, that goes all the way back to the Vietnam era. But and I think the Sea Stallion, this is basically the U.S. Marine Corps. These are the guys that are flying that, and sorry, the not the Sea Stallion, but the but this variant is the Marine Corps. Now the Sea Stallion, the Marines probably fly that, but I think the Navy does too. But that little boom on the end right here, that's an air refueling boom. Okay, so that typically when you get the air refuelers on here like this, that's going to be your Spec Ops guys. Okay. All right, and so that is actually what you're looking at right here. That's what that is. So you probably got your SEAL guys, probably SEAL team dudes on this thing, or not SEAL team, sorry. Probably MARSOC guys would be on that. All right. So if it was out here and it was a Sea Stallion, then I would say you have a Super Stallion. That's going to be Marine Corps, probably MARSOC, if that is indeed the aircraft with the boom on it. But looks like they're out there doing some stuff, and we got this one that just rolled in. That's coming in from DC, and I don't know who that is. That's one of your little whitetails again, but that's a military bird, a little Gulfstream. It's the C-37B. Now, typically we would see these aircraft, they're painted blue and white. The fact that it's just solid white's kind of an interesting, little more low key. All right, so. But that one's coming out of DC. I saw that one rolling in from earlier this morning. And one of the other things I do want to show you, I was watching. I don't know who is on this, and I'm going to kind of depart from the U.S. real fast. We'll come back to it. But we did have some 737s. So this is out here. This is your Tertiary Island. So we've got a C-130. Looks like it's on ground there currently. And the Navy actually flew into that earlier. But the Black Wolf, if I can find him again, he was airborne earlier, and I don't know who is on. Here it is right here, Black Wolf. Now you'll see Black Wolf 11, 12. I've seen him 13. That's one of those little Glex, is the Global Flex jets. Okay, and it's a little Global 6000 or 6500. It's Bombardier. It's a fast, nice jet. Okay, but notice. It looks to be coming out of kind of right off of the Syrian border here. There's a rock right here. And so, you know, coming out of Iraq, headed down to the UAE. I don't know who is on that, but that Black Wolf call sign is definitely suspect. And I've seen them operating in here quite a bit. So, but there's somebody's got that, like, that's their go-to. So their little code name, somebody, Black Wolf. I guarantee it's either group of little dudes or it's one specific guy, right? But you know, that's the kind of thing where you get like the Blackwater guys, you know, Black Wolf. You know, that's the kind of stuff that you'll see call sign wise. All right. Now, if you notice, we got a lot of tanker activity going on right now in the Middle East. Some C-130s, another tanker, some C-17s. Look like that one just rolled out. We've got another one, looks to be landing, so it's coming inbound. Some more C-130s. These are all, that's Denmark, United States. Let me just double check to see Canada. And what do we have? That's Reach, that's a US, and these air refuelers are US too. So I don't know if that is an indicator of what's happening with this whole DEFCON 3 thing. Sure, we'll find out here pretty soon. But if I had to guess, it is Tehran related, and it could be that you know, there may be something. I don't know if you guys watched. Let me see here. Let me just check my stream to make sure I'm still streaming. I see you guys over in the chat saying it's buffering, but yeah, I'm buffering too on my side. So, all right, well, give me a second. Let me see if this thing comes back online. All right, I think we got it back. Let me know if you guys see it. I tried something different this time where I didn't back all the way out and hose up our thing, but all right, let's see here. I'm looking for thumbs up. You guys see if it comes on. I'm showing live again. Excellent connecting. So, all right, good deal. I'll be doing some heavy editing here shortly. So, all right. So anyway, this whole DEF CON 3 thing, as I was saying before we got knocked offline, I'm telling you, when you're over the target, man, when all of a sudden you just get whacked and your stream just ends. So, okay. But yeah, so I'm seeing an increase here in air traffic, and I'm thinking that it may be related. As you remember the other day, Israel took out one of the Iranian nuclear sites down underground. It was down like 40, 50 feet below the surface. And so pretty clever way they got in there and did it. And so I think that could be it. But we didn't go to DEF CON 3 the other day. I can tell you that. That's fresh today. So there's something going on in the world right now, and we'll probably hear about it shortly. And it's either, Tehran's doing something stupid trying to come on to Israel, or I don't know, but we'll have to keep our eye on it. But there's definitely an increase in air traffic over here into this general area south of Iraq, into Kuwait, and over here in the UAE. Okay, so I've definitely been seeing an uptick. So lots of air refuelers, which tells me we got fighters. That Black Wolf, I'm telling you, definitely suspect right there. I don't know who operates that, but they've got several aircraft that they're flying in and out in this general area, and so we definitely got some hands-on. If you guys get a chance, there is a series on Netflix that is actually pretty interesting. It's called Spycraft. If you get a chance to go watch that, I would highly recommend it, because it does kind of segue into the stuff that we talk about. For example, the last time Israel and the U.S. actually took out one of the Iranian nuclear sites through a thumb drive. It goes into all kinds of stuff. It talks about how they have the ability to, look through houses and use your TVs, and it does all kinds of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that we talk about with these aircraft. And there's stuff, believe me, if they're talking about that, the stuff that they can do, we're not seeing. We don't, it's going to open your eyes. But it's a pretty fascinating series. So, not that I'm a proponent of Netflix, but I don't do cable TV anymore, and so I'm kind of stuck in the realm of Hulu, Netflix, and Prime. So, okay, again, looks like a lot of heavy helo activity over Europe, really. Lots of little birds. Let me just see here what we've got. That's a trainer. EC-45 could be a trainer. H-60, that's going to be, it could be trainer, but that's, I think that's a U.S. Yeah, it's U.S. military Blackhawk. And then we've got several EC-45s. Now, these EC-45s, they also, they will use teams will use those. And so the Army uses them a lot for medical type of stuff, where the Air Force will use the H-60s. Okay. And so now these H-64s, those are Apache gunships, and we kind of see them on a regular basis. Now, keep in mind the time difference over there. So it's kind of wrapping up. It's getting into the evening now. So these guys look like they're just out having some fun. And so that's still on. That's in the UK. So let's see here. Up north, same thing. Juggernaut. That's cool. And so so when I'm talking about gunships, Apache gunships, that's what I'm talking about right here. Okay, so you guys can see this thing is got this whole set on the front. This is a camera, and it has night vision, so you can do FLIR and different types of night vision out of this. It also has the ability to lock onto targets, and it's all relayed into this guy's helmet. Okay. And so this is, if I'm not mistaken, it's backwards. So this is your pilot back here, and this is your gunner up here or something. Or I may have that backwards, but it's a two-man ship. It's pretty spectacular. You cannot hear it Notice if you noticed a little sweep on the end of that rotor blade right there. That is a design that makes that rotor blade virtually unheard. So when it is flying, you don't know that it is there until he's right on top of you. This is look at that gun right there on the bottom is actually, that's operated by, he can use, like, through his toggle switches, he can actually in his helmet turn his head and that gun will follow suit. And so it's this thing's pretty dialed in. It's a pretty amazing helo. But I've been to their facility. It's in Mesa, Arizona, and I've looked at their production line and everything else. It's a pretty cool little setup. But that's where I learned about these sweeped blades. The engineer was watching hawks and sparrows dive and thought, well, hey, what if I put a little sweep on the rotor blade and see if it makes it quiet? And it did. And so it's a fascinating design, just simple. But anyway, so that's going to be your gunship, Apache gunship. So, all right. And it looks like we've got quite a few of those up right now. So, okay, let me get back over here. Okay, so back to streaming. All right, we're going to just wrap this up. So, oh man, I'm going to be into edit mode forever and a day. So we were talking about aircraft. When you see these air refuelers over here coming across, that when you see the tankers out here over the water, it's because fighters don't have the capacity, fuel capacity, to get all the way across. So they have to get air refueled once, sometimes twice, to get all the way across the drink. So so that's why you'll see those. Okay. That's going to be a Canadian P3, and looks like they operate out of that location, but they've been doing a lot of stuff off here too. So it's like everybody's got some concerns in terms of what's potentially off the coast or who. So all right, let me turn persistence off because that was cluttering us up, so we can get a real number here. Let me just make sure. All right, so we're sitting about 218. Actually, that's a little low compared to our normal. Normal's about 250. So, all right, and we get up here in Seattle. Now, they did have an exercise going on recently. Now, that is a P3 that just took off, another P3. So, it looks like we got a couple P3s airborne. That's going to be a fighter, and that's going to be a little EC-45 out over Spokane, Washington. So, okay. All right. There's that. Let's see. I don't know who that is. That's a Canadian. I guess that is going to be your Augusta wetland. That's going to be their version of a Sea Stallion. Okay. Okay. All right. That is going to do it. I think we'll watch this DEFCON 3. I'm sure something's going to pop in the news here shortly. All right, you guys, I'm going to wrap this up. I'm going to do our send-off, and then I will be on here with you guys. So if we got questions, we can talk through the Patreon side. Hopefully we won't lose our stream again for the 4th time. So okay, you can see already down here in the corner I'm getting some kind of crazy error message, and that has to do with this. So endless, folks, endless. I'm telling you, somebody is spiking me. Okay, here we go. So that's it. I'll bug out from here. You guys hang on the line, and let me get a send off. So God bless. Monkey out. Check out the latest gear at monkeywerxus.com.